footing the bill. Hollywood had slammed the door in their faces, so now they're desperately begging for a royal return, and King Charles took the bait. Pathetic.
This chick's from L.A. She's a failed actress. She's clearly acting out of bad intent.
Has been dropped formally by Netflix, which announced With Love, Meghan is done.
Hollywood slammed the door, a failed actress. And now Netflix, the people who handed her $100 million, are done with her too. That's the verdict on Meghan Markle this week, and it came from 3 different rooms she used to think she owned. But the one that actually stings came from the nicest woman in show business. Because this week, of all people, Taylor Swift just quietly shut the door on Meghan as well. And Taylor Swift does not shut doors. She collects people. She poses with everyone. So when even Taylor keeps her distance, that tells you something the headlines won't. Here is what I need you to hold on to for the next half hour, because everything turns on it. The royal door is shut. We all know that story. But the door Meghan was always quietly counting on, the one she thought she could walk back through anytime it went wrong, Hollywood has now shut too. The whole A-list has closed ranks. And there is one reason why. One specific thing she does to people that has made the most forgiving town on earth treat her like she is radioactive. I'll show you exactly what it is. But not yet. You have to see the whole pattern first. Quick thing before we get into it. Pulling this together meant going back through years of red carpets, guest lists, and the reviews nobody wanted to read out loud. And most of you watching right now still aren't subscribed. So do me one favor, hit subscribe, tap join to become a member, and let's count the doors that have closed on her. Let's start with Taylor, because the snub is so on brand, it is almost funny. Reports this week had Meghan hoping to pull Taylor Swift into her orbit, the podcast, the brand, the whole lifestyle world she's trying to build. And Taylor, who will happily take a photo with a fan in a car park, said no thank you.
And she is obsessed by feminism. She's obsessed by the girly voice. I mean, that is really one of her, it probably attracts some support. But I mean, clearly, the outspoken Duchess.
Let's remember, Meghan is desperate. Everything she has tried has failed. She is looking at losing all of the money she invested in the...
Think about who Taylor Swift actually is. She is the most strategically friendly celebrity alive. She has a famous girl squad, Selena, Blake, the models, the actresses. She befriends her own rivals. There is no upside for Taylor in being cold to a duchess. And she did it anyway. When the woman who poses with everyone decides you are the exception, that is not an accident. That is a warning the rest of the room has already heard. And the people who watch this couple for sport clocked it instantly. Taylor swerving Meghan isn't shyness, it is a verdict. And notice the contrast, because it's the whole story in one image. Taylor has a squad, Beyonce has a circle, every real A-lister travels in a pack of famous friends. Meghan, the most photographed woman of her generation, has. Who, exactly? Name one A-list friend she still has. Take your time. The woman who was supposed to be Hollywood royalty cannot produce a single famous friend who'll stand next to her in public. That is not what success looks like. That is quarantine. And if you want proof this is a pattern and not just bad luck, you do not even have to leave her own family to find it. Her father, not spoken to in years. Her sister, estranged and litigious. The nephews, the cousins, the half-siblings, all frozen out. Before Meghan ever reached for a single celebrity, she had already done the exact same thing to the people who raised her. Hollywood did not teach her to discard people. She arrived fully trained. And then look at the famous friends who actually helped her, the ones who put their own names on the line. Tyler Perry handed them his Beverly Hills mansion and his private jet when they fled to California, no questions asked. Where is that friendship now? Gone quiet. Serena Williams, the loyal courtside friend trotted out for every documentary, barely seen beside her these days. Oprah, who handed her the single biggest platform on the planet for that interview, and then watched the relationship cool the moment it had served its purpose. See the shape of it? Every one of them gave her something she needed at the exact moment she needed it. The house, the credibility, the audience of millions. And every one of them, once the favor was banked, found themselves quietly demoted from friend to former friend. That is not a run of bad luck with people. That is a method. And here is what makes the freeze out so complete. The stars who actually last in that town are not the most talented. They are the easiest to be around. The ones who learn the crew names, who make the director look good, who other people fight to work with again next year. That is the real currency of Hollywood, and it is the one currency Meghan never once bothered to earn. She wanted the throne without the climb, the fame without the favors, the loyalty without ever being loyal first.
I did that truth out of fear of losing Meghan. And again, I think that's incredibly telling about where Harry's mindset was. Meghan had him so twisted, so caught up in the web that she wove, that he was worried that because he was diminishing in influence, he knew now he was sixth in line for the throne. He was not as important as he once was. You could almost feel the jealousy.
All the advantages as well. We don't need Meghan Markle to be telling us that. But what was really interesting was that these people are so delusional, Meghan and Harry being these people, that they then issued a statement which goes as follows.
Because Taylor is not the first. She is just the latest and the most telling. Run the tape on the last 5 years, and it is the same scene over and over. Meghan reaches for a famous friend, and the famous friend quietly steps out of the frame. Start with the Obamas. The friendship Meghan dined out on for years, the Netflix introductions, the photo ops, the implied endorsement, and then somewhere along the way, it just cooled. The calls reportedly stopped being returned. The famous names she used to drop stopped showing up.
Let alone by the royal family whom they betrayed when they went on their trash the monarchy spree. Netflix, the book, Oprah, the interviews, and the constant royal bashing, trying to upstage the monarchy. As I said, the way that they treated the late Queen was appalling. The way that they've said, we need privacy. We need privacy.
Then the Clooneys, Amal and George, front row at the wedding and now reportedly keeping a careful distance. Then Beckham, who once flew across the world for Harry and now won't return a call. Then the long line of stars who were photographed beside her in 2018 and have not been seen near her since, one by one, quietly. No statements, no drama, just an empty space where the famous friends used to stand.
Because now it's revealed that Harry and Meghan will receive royal accommodation whilst in the UK. Now, this is a disgrace because they've attacked the royal family via books, via podcasts, and of course, the Netflix TV show, Harry and Meghan, and the Oprah interview.
And it's not just the A-list, it's the gatekeepers. The fashion world that fawned over her has gone cool. The Met Gala invite that never seems to come. The magazine covers that dried up. The Vogue editor who championed her moved on. The whole glittering apparatus that decides who is in and who is out has quietly filed Meghan under out. It is the loneliest guest list in the world, and she built it herself. Even her own company tells the story. Archwell, the grand production house that was going to change the world, has struggled to attract the big names and the big partners. Talent does not queue up to work there. Executives arrive and quietly leave. And when you cannot even pay people to stay, you are not building an empire. You are running a turnstile. And there is one more thing Hollywood can smell from a mile away, and it is the worst thing of all, a loser. This is a town obsessed with winners, with heat, with whoever is up. And Meghan, fairly or not, now wears the single most public losing streak in modern celebrity. The royal exit that did not land the freedom she promised. The deals that collapsed, the brand that flopped. Nobody in that town wants to be photographed standing next to a downward trend. Proximity to failure is contagious, and they all know it.
The tour was a disaster. Meghan's trashy cash for wear campaign went down so poorly here when she wore designer outfits to visit, a women's shelter, to visit the victims of the Bondi massacre, and then flogged those outfits online to try and make a profit.
And it is not only the friends, it is the professionals paid to stand beside her. The Hollywood agencies, the high-powered managers, the crisis PR firms hired to rebuild the image. There has been a quiet revolving door there too. You do not burn through that many representatives because the world is unfair to you. You burn through them because nobody can sell a client the buyers have already decided about.
Entering restaurants, she demanded a special table, the entitlement of every famous actress, and her name dropping whenever she returned from New York was insufferable. "You're not Nicole Kidman," he snapped at her. So it was very much that their relationship was basically completely on the outs at this point, that they were going to break up. But still, you actually should be an adult and break up with the person you're dating before jumping.
Is some of the pathetic reasons that they tried to justify Megxit, which, let's be honest, was always about money. That's what it was about. And it was about Meghan not having to work. But actually, in my initial story on this, and remember, this was briefed by people who were very...
Now, here is where it gets genuinely awkward, because this freeze out has come at the worst possible time. The royal escape hatch is bolted shut. The Netflix money is drying up. So Meghan, by every account, has been looking longingly back at the one career she had before all of this, acting.
But the point about Meghan is that she monetized herself by lying about the royal family and by damaging it deliberately with her lies to Oprah Winfrey on the Netflix series.
Right.
That was her great sin, that having entered the family, she then, to promote herself.
There it is, said out loud, a return to acting is, quote, on the cards. And on paper, why not? She was an actress. That is the whole origin story. Except the people who actually make films and television have a rather blunt assessment of that resume. A failed actress. That is the phrase that keeps coming up, and not from a tabloid, from people inside the industry. Because let us be honest about the career she is trying to walk back into. Before Suits, she was a briefcase girl on a game show. Then one steady supporting role on a cable legal drama, which she left the second a prince proposed. No string of films, no awards, no body of work the town actually remembers. There was Suits, and there was the exit.
How desperate was Meghan Markle to be famous? Well, apparently, according to Tom Bower's book, she basically spent seemingly all her money with the sole goal of intention of finding the right connections and being as famous as humanly possible without actually putting any talent or effort behind it. Yes, that is the picture Tom Bower paints. And about...
So picture the pitch meeting. A woman who hasn't acted in nearly a decade, whose last famous job was being a royal, who comes attached to the most toxic publicity of any name in entertainment, asking for a serious role. In a town that runs entirely on what you can do for the box office, she is a phone call nobody is rushing to take. Even the Suits cast reunited without her. When your own old castmates leave you off the group photo, the message could not be clearer. And look at the recognition that simply never comes. No awards, no honorary anything from the industry she calls home. When she does sweep into a glossy gala, she is tolerated, not celebrated. Seated, photographed, and quietly forgotten by the morning. This town has 1,000 little ways of telling you that you matter, and it is using exactly none of them on her.
Desperate for validation. She's so desperate to be taken seriously. And I'm sure this event is a pay to play. Harry and Meghan pay their PR company oodles and oodles of money to try to promote them to these things.
And don't tell me it is about the money, because the money people have already voted with their feet. These are the companies that bet the most on Meghan Markle and watched it not pay off.
It's $1 million question. Megxit has been reversed, right? This is a betrayal of Megxit. It's exactly what the Queen did not want. The decision by Harry and Meghan to come to the UK next month is the ultimate establishment stitch-up.
Spotify, gone, and an executive there reportedly called them grifters on the way out. The $40 million podcast that produced one season and a handful of episodes. The big Netflix deal, once trumpeted at $100 million, quietly shrunk to a fraction of that. And the flagship cooking show, the one that was meant to relaunch her as a lifestyle queen.
How they had all of those fake headlines. But this seems to be something that American television companies of a certain sort do regularly, because Netflix has done the same thing. One of the headlines is where Ann Whitaker...
Done. Canceled. Wound down. The people who write the checks in this town do not write them out of loyalty. They write them for a return. And the return on Meghan Markle came back red. When the buyers stop buying, that is not a slump. That is the market closing. Because here is the cold commercial truth nobody says to her face. In this business, you are either an asset or you are a risk. And the spreadsheet on Meghan Markle now reads risk in red. Toxic press, no proven box office draw, a long trail of unhappy collaborators, no studio lawyer wants that headache for a name that no longer guarantees a single ticket sold. The brand that was meant to be priceless turned out to have a price, and the market marked it all the way down.
To sort of explain what all of this brand relaunch is about, while at the same time confirming that regardless of Meghan's protestations, With Love Meghan has actually been axed. So watch this, Angela, and I'll get you to react off the back. But first, as we get older, you notice it.
We just don't know.
Yeah, she's disappeared since the Epstein file scandal involving her exploded all over the headlines. And this was the end of last year. She has not been seen this year in public. So as you say, there were reports she was staying at a £13,000 a night Swiss wellness retreat.
So strip away the glossy headlines about reinvention and look at what is actually on the table. A streaming deal in retreat, a cooking show in the bin, a podcast that's already history, an acting comeback nobody is offering, and a famous friends list that is emptied out to almost nothing. That is not a star between projects. That is a town politely declining to take her calls. Which brings us, finally, to the question we have been circling. Why? Hollywood forgives almost anything. It has welcomed back people who did genuinely terrible things. It is the most forgiving, opportunistic town on the planet if you can make it money. It does not care who you are. So why has that town decided Meghan Markle specifically is too much trouble?
Meghan Markle's shocking humiliation in Geneva finally proves that she has just gone mad. I mean, this was the moment. Nancy Sidley pointed it out. This was the moment.
And the answer from the people who have watched her operate up close is uncomfortable. It is not the scandals. It is not even the politics. It is how she treats the people around her. The pattern they describe is always the same. She uses people. She climbs them like a ladder, and the moment they have served their purpose, she lets go.
And I understand that because there is a trust deficit now because of the way that she has lied to us and manipulated stories for so many years. So why on earth would we believe that she wouldn't manipulate videos and photographs too?
A special media relations team. I want you to handle it, Gina, said Meghan. Since she had no money, she continued, and the kudos would be immeasurable, she expected her agent to work without payment. Gina politely refused. She was not a PR agency and lacked the staff and expertise. However, she could promise Meghan that once the Harry connection...
Look at the trail of people she has left behind. The staff turnover that became a running joke, the assistant who quit days before the wedding, the private secretary gone within months, the press team, the nannies, aide after aide, some reportedly leaving in tears. There were so many of them, they got a nickname, the Sussex Survivors Club. You do not generate a survivors club by being a wonderful person to work for. And it went a great deal further than hurt feelings. There were formal complaints, reports of staff left shaking, a palace inquiry quietly opened and just as quietly buried. Now believe whatever you like about the details, but the smoke is the story. People do not file complaints about a boss who is kind to them. They file them about the other kind. And those people talk in every town she has ever tried to conquer.
Olivia Wilde says, the very fact that the result of the palace bullying inquiry was unceremoniously dropped from the public gaze, sealed and put in a drawer somewhere never to resurface, in itself should have told us all that if Meghan had been exonerated...
And it is not only the staff. It is the friends who introduced her and were quietly dropped once the introduction was made, the mentors used as a leg up and then forgotten. There is even a tiny tell people cannot stop pointing at that little one-finger tap she does on the back of a hand, the gesture of someone managing you, not loving you. Even the smallest gestures get read now, that condescending little tap on the hand, the move of someone handling staff, not holding a friend. And Hollywood, for all its sins, is a small town that runs on exactly one thing: relationships. Everybody has worked with everybody. The assistant you were cold to in 2019 is a producer now. Word travels fast, and it does not travel kind. A reputation for using people and discarding them is the one stain that town genuinely cannot abide because it is the one thing that costs them money down the line. And this town keeps a long memory and a short patience. The runner she snapped at in a corridor is a producer now. The publicist she used and discarded has lunch with everyone. Every burned bridge quietly becomes a closed door, and she has been setting fire to bridges since before most of us knew her name. So by the time she actually needed those people, every last one of them had a private little reason to let it ring through to voicemail.
James Britain is unsafe. And then don't forget this. Remember when he was captured on a doorbell camera, going around just casually knocking on doors in London last year, apparently looking for a friend? How embarrassing. He tried his luck, remember, at about 3 homes before finding the right one.
And here's the part that should make you wince, because it has been hiding in plain sight the whole time. We have watched her do the using on camera for years.
They know they're on camera. I've talked about having extra face for 3 years on here. They're acting like she's trying to wind Harry up, looks to me like, because she's saying things like, where is he? And they start talking about safety, and she does, and all these things. So it seems fake to me. Like Chase was saying, there are no true expressions of fear there.
What she has rarely done is embarrassed them, humiliated them, and I would be very surprised if this matter isn't settled down the line. But she's giving Harry a message and Meghan a message.
The way she works, a rope line, the eyes scanning past whoever she is talking to, hunting for the more important person behind them. The reports of the diva demands, the special table, the entitlement of someone who decided she was the star before anyone agreed. The over-the-top warmth that, the second the cameras cut, reportedly switched straight off like a tap.
How did she show us that she was a fake when she stopped faking it? Because she continued faking it in all the wrong ways and stopped faking it in all the important ways that had concealed what she truly was.
It is ironically the one role she is fully committed to playing: the beloved humanitarian, the people's princess, the relatable best friend. And the industry that invented that exact performance can spot a fake one from the back row. They have watched her audition the part of a likable person for 7 years. They are simply not buying it. And the cracks show on camera every single time. The smile that drops the instant she thinks the lens has moved on. The flash of irritation when somebody else gets the attention she wanted. Nigeria, where the warmth curdled the second the cameras turned away. You can perform sincerity for one photograph. You cannot perform it for 7 straight years without the mask slipping, and a whole town of professional performers has clocked every single slip.
I think that's what happened. That's why they're doing this. I mean, we're seeing a lot of fake on her, a lot of these fake expressions that just throw the whole sincerity thing. The whole thing seems disingenuous the way she's smiling.
And the receipts on how that performance lands in a real room are brutal, because when she does manage to get the A-list into the same building, the building tends to empty out.
Whether it is or isn't. And go along with the fact that, we had such a successful tour. It was just like Australia and Geneva. And it was an outstanding success. In the hope that people are going to buy the lie. Or then she's not going to come at all.
Geneva, where a glittering summit appearance curdled into a global punchline. The Los Angeles dinner, where by some accounts, barely a handful of people bothered to turn up for the guest of honor. The events where she is the headline name and the famous faces suddenly find a reason to be somewhere else that night. You can announce yourself as a star as loudly as you like. You cannot make the room agree. And it happens at the small things too, the ones no press release can spin. The launches with no cue. The appearances where the seats stay half empty. The products that sell out in a headline and then sit, unloved and unsold, in a warehouse. Manufactured demand has a shelf life, and hers has quietly expired. Even the comedians have her number now. South Park built an entire episode around the worldwide privacy tour. The late night hosts use her as shorthand for try hard. She has become the easy punchline, the name that gets the knowing laugh. And nothing tells an ambitious town that you are no longer worth the risk, like becoming the joke. Hollywood will work with the difficult. It will not work with the embarrassing. And once you become the joke, it is almost impossible to climb back out. Ask anyone who has ever been laughed out of that town. Pity the industry can work with. Anger, it can even sell. But ridicule is terminal because nobody powerful wants the laughter to spread to them. Standing next to a punchline is the fastest way to become part of the punchline. And these people did not get famous by being slow.
Herself, she'll be famous, but will she be royal? So again, these fractures are already starting to emerge. And this is even just right after their engagement. People are wondering, can she really do this? Does she even understand the difference between celebrity and royalty? Because she caught Harry. She managed to grab him, but she doesn't really understand the full implications of where she's at and what she's doing.
And if you think this is just Hollywood being snobbish, here is the part that should genuinely unsettle her. Because while one door was quietly bolting shut in California, the other world she came from, the royal one, had already reached the exact same verdict in private, in the language they actually use behind those palace walls. There is a reason that world landed on a private nickname for her, and it was not an affectionate one. Reports had then Prince Charles taking to calling her tungsten after the metal, hard, unbending, impossible to soften, and always, somehow, the one who got exactly what she wanted, whatever it cost the people around her. That is not a pet name. That is a warning, passed quietly from one courtier to the next.
Exploded bomb for the king with Prince Andrew, and Charles is paying the price as the scandal engulfs the monarchy. And the headline was Andrew was the Queen's weak spot. King Charles is paying the price. And she quoted a source who knows the royal family. But come on, Angela.
And look at what happened to the people inside that world, because it will sound familiar. The palace aides who fled. The household staff reportedly left in tears. The formal bullying complaints that a future king's office felt it had to open. The exact same trail of burned, discarded people, just on a different continent, in a grander building with better wallpaper. The method never changed, only the postcode did.
Image creates a sense of a fake family and a fake monarchy. They say the camera never lies. If only that was true of the royal family.
It's unlikely to be Buckingham Palace because, as you said, he's suggested in the past that that's actually too exposed a location. St James's Palace, would it be Sandringham? Would it be the Windsor Estate?
And that is the detail that should stop you cold. Two worlds that agree on almost nothing, the buttoned-up British monarchy and freewheeling forgive anything. Hollywood looked at the exact same woman and, completely independently, arrived at the identical private conclusion. Not for us. And when Buckingham Palace and Beverly Hills quietly reach the same verdict about a person, that is not bad luck, and it is not snobbery. That is a consensus. So here is where she actually stands tonight, stripped of every press release. Behind her, the royal door bolted, with a brother on the other side who wants it to stay that way. In front of her, the Hollywood door she always assumed she could stroll back through, and it has been quietly locked from the inside by the only people who could have let her in.
Her people were behind the scenes, lying through their back teeth, saying that there was nothing wrong with Thomas Markle and never had been. No heart attacks, no strokes, no amputation, no nothing.
Two worlds, both of them in their own polite, deniable way, saying the exact same thing. Not for us, thank you. And a woman who spent her whole life climbing toward rooms like these is now standing in the corridor between them, the famous friends gone, the deals collapsing, and Taylor Swift, of all people, declining to take the photo. So before I tell you the reason, ask yourself one honest question. You have watched her do this to her father, to her staff, to her friends, her mentors, her famous acquaintances, one after another after another. Did you genuinely think a whole industry of the sharpest, most self-interested people on earth would not eventually notice the single thing every one of those discarded people had in common? So, the one reason. The thing I promised you at the very start why the most forgiving town on earth quietly blacklisted her. Here it is. It was never the Oprah interview or the politics or even the mess with the royals. Hollywood genuinely does not care about any of that. What it cannot forgive is the thing every single one of those discarded people learned the hard way, that to Meghan Markle, you are not a person, you are a rung, a stepping stone to the next, more useful person. And a town built entirely on who you will need to work with again next year takes one look at a serial discarder of people and quietly decides she is not worth the cost. They did not cancel her. They did something far more final. They calculated her and found she came up short. A woman who burned her father for a crown, who burned her staff for the image, who burned her friends for their introductions, and burned the introductions themselves the second she had the next rung up. Hollywood watched her do it to every single person she ever met, and it made the only rational decision a town full of future collaborators could possibly make. It decided not to be next. That is why Taylor Swift, who can read a room better than anyone alive, took one look and stepped back. She was not being unkind. She was being smart. She saw exactly what the rest of them saw. And so the most telling snub of Meghan Markle's entire life came not with a slammed door, but with a smile, a polite no, and a quiet little step out of the frame. So tell me down in the comments and be honest, is there any way back for her from here, or are both doors shut for good? I think we already know. And there is one name in all of this we have not touched yet. Because what Catherine does next, with the one door Meghan wants reopened more than any other, makes everything you just heard sound like the warm-up. That video is on your screen.